to order. The date is September 9th, 2025, and the time is 5:30 p.m. At this time, board members, are there any preliminary items from the agenda that you would like to discuss tonight before we start into our work session?
Not me.
Okay. I'll also see. And Mr. Davis as well. I'll wait, he sits down.
Nothing for me.
Nothing for you? All right, y'all. Well, let's keep moving. All right, so we're going to move on to item 3 of our agenda. At this time, I want to. Is Marta ready? Are you guys ready yet, or you want to wait for? Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll move on and go to this to number 2, and the number 2 is reconsideration of resolution 2016-176, DCOO Landry Murkison.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm bringing before you tonight a request and a presentation for reconsideration of resolution 2016-176. I did put this together in consultation with our leadership as kind of some of their thoughts and ideas that have come out of our work through the shift, and then also in working with our Human Resources Division. So, and just for general context, so Ordinance 2016-176 was an ordinance that was passed in December of 2016 that effectively from that date forward removed department leadership from civil service protection. So that's kind of the genesis of that, and we're going to run through kind of the creation of that and some of the things that we've discussed, and then of course open it up for discussion, and I will move relatively quickly. So brief history of civil service. So the creation of the act, so Georgia voters ratified a local constitutional amendment in 1963 that authorized the General Assembly to create a civil service system for Clayton County, covering county paid employees but not elected official. The General Assembly then enacted the Clayton County Civil Service System in 1963. The act was amended. The legislature repealed the 1963 act in its entirety and replaced it with a comprehensive new law in 1994. This established a civil service system of personnel administration that would be known as the Clayton County Civil Service System. The 1994 act put most of the county positions under civil service, excluded elected officials from coverage, confirmed that the sheriff's office employees, but not the sheriff, were covered, and required that covered employees may be removed only for cause under the applicable provisions of the civil service rules. In 2005, that rule was challenged. Shortly after assuming the office of the sheriff in Clayton County in January of 2005, Sheriff Hill sent notices to 27 employees announcing their termination that basically advised that they were not entitled to the protections of the Civil Service Act. As previously passed in 1994, 2 of the discharged employees brought a petition for declaratory judgment and injunctive release asserting that they are subject to the 94 Act, which affords them due process and prohibits termination without just cause. The trial court agreed that employees of the Clayton County Sheriff's Office are covered by the 94 Act and granted summary judgment in their favor. The sheriff appealed, asserting that the trial court's ruling was erroneous on several aspects. Hill asserted that a certain resolution adopted by the board in 1965 to implement the 1963 Act violated the home rule provision of the Act, and said that Act did not extend to an action affecting any elective office or the personnel thereof. The Georgia Supreme Court in February of 2006 ruled that under the 63 Act, any department of Clayton County could be brought under civil service by a vote of more than 50% of its employees. The resolution in question showed that the Clayton County Sheriff's Office voted for coverage, and as previously noted, the 1963 Act was expressly repealed by the 94 Act. Thus, we find the resolution in question had no applicability. So at the end of the day, it was ruled that the Sheriff's Office employees did stay within the Act. Their ruling specifically said the General Assembly specifically authorized Clayton County via an unambiguous 1963 constitutional amendment as extended in 1986 to enact the civil service system. The 1994 Act properly included all positions within the office of the sheriff as required, and therefore that ruling held. So we get to Resolution 2016-176, as I just discussed, was a resolution that was passed by the board under the Home Rule Act to remove and to exempt department directors and department heads from the civil service system and to provide an effective date of this ordinance and for other purposes. And that was done by deleting subsection C in its entirety and replacing with the following. And this section reads pretty much the same way that the 1994 Act did, with the exception of down toward the bottom, where it says department heads and department directors are exempted. That resolution was further amended by House Bill 879 in the 2001-2002 session, which deleted that section and replaced it in its entirety with predominantly the exact same language, with the exception that this added investigators and attorneys within the Office of the Solicitor General were now also exempted from civil service. So that brings us to today, and what the ask is of myself and leadership. So excluding department heads, so this is kind of the impact of the previous actions. Excluding department heads from civil service protection, while it increases political flexibility and alignment, it also introduced risk of instability, weakened succession pipelines, and a workplace culture more focused on political survival than professional development. Over time, this can undermine organizational resilience and effectiveness. So we kind of took that and broke it down and looked at a lot of other resolutions and other civil service acts across the country and looked at some pros and cons that's been published from both local, state, and federal civil service policies. We are aware that the Civil Service Reform Act, as passed, really applies to federal workers. However, a lot of the recommendations and requirements have been adopted by lower bodies at the local and state levels. So under succession planning, short-term flexibility, political leaders do gain more discretion in appointing and replacing department heads, allowing them to align leadership quickly with new priorities. Weaken internal pipelines. If department heads know their roles are politically vulnerable, they may invest less in mentoring or grooming successors and weakening leadership continuity. Discourage talent development. Ambitious mid-level managers may avoid aspiring top roles if those positions are viewed as precarious, reducing the effectiveness of leadership pipelines. And then external reliance. Organizations may become more reliant on external hires who are politically connected, reducing institutional knowledge at the leadership level. And this discussion really bore itself out of the shift directly. I know Commissioner Hambrick has long been a proponent of promoting and training from within the ranks of Clayton County to continue that organizational stability and knowledge. Madam Chair recently spent about 8 hours with leadership over 2 days listening to a lot of the concerns that they brought forth, and some of these conversations were a large part of that. So we felt that we needed to bring them forth in a more comprehensive and public form. Long-term organizational stability. Frequent leadership changes disrupt strategic plans and long-term projects, making it difficult to maintain continuity. Each new administration may replace department heads, leading to shifting priorities and inconsistent execution of policies and programs. Without stable leadership, knowledge about organizational history, culture, and best practices can be lost more quickly. And then reduced credibility. Stakeholders, employees, communities, and partners may perceive the organization as less predictable or reliable if the leadership churn is high. And finally, from a workplace culture standpoint, employees may view success as tied to more political alignment than professional merit, undermining a merit-based culture, which is the civil service system as a whole. Staff may feel less secure if leadership appears subject to the political environment, especially if they fear cascading effects on their own roles. Leaders may focus on immediate results or pleasing political superiors rather than long-term organizational health. And employees may be less motivated to commit deeply to long-term initiatives if they expect leadership to change frequently. So the current impact is since 2016, we've replaced a lot of our senior leadership. So the ones that are currently listed on the screen are the ones that have been impacted by Ordinance 2016-176 and currently do not have civil service protection as the remainder of their colleagues do. And then, of course, we have listed those that are currently serving in interim positions as well. So if the board so chose to act on this ordinance, these are the ones that would regain civil service protection upon the adoption of a new and revised ordinance. And one of the reasons why we chose to go ahead and bring this forward is twofold. Once, as we've gone through the shift for the last 2 years, this has been a recurring conversation, Justin, about how we're building leaders, how we're grooming leaders, and how we're pushing for our third tier and second tier management to look toward senior level and executive management. A lot of them are very hesitant to do so without that level of protection. It's not a get out of jail free card. It's not a license to run amok and do things, but it sets forth a standard of what's expected. It gives you a clear set of defined rules and expectations and gives you a very clear set of consequences as if you do not obey them. So basically it brings back a regimented and equal set of rules and consequences across our entire leadership paradigm. So with that, that is the 30,000-foot overview, and I will yield for any questions from the board.
All right, board members, are there any questions at this time? I'll start to the left of me. Mr. Davis.
You've gone somewhat into the why. I appreciate this. The question becomes also is, where is the county vulnerable in passing a ordinance like this?
Well, so we're basically putting it back to the way it had been since 1963, up until 2016. So civil service systems on the face are meant to create a system of equality for all protected employees. There are certain employees that are exempted by state law, your constitutional officers, your elected officials. Department heads, historically speaking, have always been protected and covered, and they are in a lot of other jurisdictions that still maintain civil service. It was only up until 2016 the board made a decision to exempt them. So from a liability standpoint, it would be no different than where we are from 1963 to 2016. If anything else, your scope of accountability increases because now there's a very clearly defined set of rules that apply to your department head. Currently, a department head could argue, if I'm not protected by the civil service rules, then how can you subject me to them? So, and not having county policies that cover many of the things we do on a daily basis, you've actually lost some ability to hold leadership accountable for things that may not have been done in accordance with the rules. So it actually opened up a lot more flexibility and removed some accountability the day they were taken out.
I disagree with some of that, but okay.
Okay.
Answer. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Hambrick.
Chief, in the changes that were made, I guess 94 and back then, and I'm trying to remember, did we do anything like home rule, or was it just the decision of the board as far as the employees were concerned when we changed?
It was done under home rule. So the county changed its ordinance. Well, the ordinance was done in accordance with the Home Rule Act, which gives the county the authority to enact its own. I don't want to speak for the lawyer. If Chuck's here, he can come up. But so the board did its first ordinance change under home rule. It was amended under home rule, and then the legislature made a change to exempt the solicitor's office individuals. And that was done after the board had made its amendment in 2016. That change was done in 2022.
Okay. So now, do we have to do the home rule again for this year?
Yes, ma'am. So if the board so chose to entertain this, then the county attorney would bring forth a resolution, again, under the Home Rule Act to amend the Civil Service Act of Clayton County.
Okay. Would that, well, okay, I think you've already answered that. I was going to ask about the solicitor or maybe some of the other offices. Would it include them, or would it just include this list on the back?
Is Chuck here?
Yes, sir. Mr. Reed.
There are still some, the elected officials and stuff that are exempted under other provisions of state law. So this ask would be just to reinstate department leadership and department heads, basically to return the act the way it was prior to the 2016 ordinance, but I'm not sure the effect of the House bill.
Oh, okay, because somewhere in here it mentioned employees of solicitor or whatever. Okay.
Ms. Reed?
That would, well, if you took out department heads and department directors, that would not affect, because you would have that same language still in excluding employees of the solicitor.
Okay, just want to be clear. So, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
All right. Commissioner Allen?
No questions.
All right. All right. So are there any other questions at this time, board members? Commissioner?
Yes, will this be on the next regular meeting for a vote, or?
So the first read of the ordinance, because it has to be advertised, will come at the October 7th meeting,
Okay,
with the final read and potential vote at the 21st board meeting of October.
okay. And enact it, well, say if we decide to make the change, when will it be enacted?
That, whatever date y'all deem it to be active.
So we don't have to wait for the, our group, our legislative delegation or anything? Oh,
No, ma'am. I just wanted, first of all, good evening,
All right, Mr.
Board.
Stanford.
I wanted to reiterate one point that the Deputy COO brought to the table, and I know HR Director would probably echo the sentiment. Right now, when we talk about the retention strategies that are in place, we utilize that as a tool to retain a lot of our department heads. Because in some instances, we can't compete, or we don't try to compete with others as it pertains to salaries. What we do have that's as an advantage is our ability to have some level of additional protection for those employees that a lot of municipalities are getting away from. So they do have civil service protection or some level of protection in space, but they're doing away with that. So we try to utilize that as an opportunity to ensure that we can retain our leadership in a different way. The other part to keep in mind, we did a dry assessment of our department heads. From an eligibility standpoint, in the next 2.5 years, over 60% of our department heads will be eligible to retire or potentially leave to go other places. So as we talk about succession planning, we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to try to keep as many of our great leaders in space and try to figure out a way that, as we talk about ways of incentivizing people to stay, just happen to be a logical one in our mind and make sure that's done.
All right. Is that it?
I'm good.
You
If y'all are good,
All
I'm
right.
good.
All right. Thank you so much, and thank you, DCOO and COO. Thank you guys for coming up and giving us this information, and we will definitely look at it and move forward as need be.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Thank you.
for staff, too.
Yeah, to
with
staff.
With the shift thing that you all are doing, thank you.
Yes.
so
Yes,
much.
ma'am.
And and that was another thing. Thank you. I want to say thank you for letting me sit in to speak with staff, because again, it gave me, and I'm sure staff, a different look at, where we need to be as a board and where they see us going as a board. So thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
For that insight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Next on the agenda, we will go back to Marta with the Q3 update, and that will be from our interim CEO, Mr. Jonathan Hunt, and he has his Marta crew with him today. And if you all want to just stand up and be recognized as well. Jonathan, I'll let you introduce everybody to the board. Let's give them.
Good evening. First,
Good evening.
let me offer my apologies. I thought an hour and a half was going to be long enough. I need an hour and 40 minutes.
Well, it's
I
the
do
Atlanta
apologize.
traffic. We understand.
It is. Stand up, and I'll let you introduce yourselves, all four of you.
Stephen Parker, y'all, Chief of Staff at Marvin.
Carrie Rocha, Chief Capital Officer.
Jennifer LaRosa, Senior Director of Government and Community Affairs.
Michelle Larrington, Assistant General Manager, External Affairs.
And we got Mr. Williams back there. He's standing in.
Refusing to stand. Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening, Chairwoman, Dr. Anderson Henry. Hello, and thank you. I bring you greetings from MARTA, and thank you for the opportunity to present your Q3 quarterly update tonight. Make sure I got this right. There we go. Got me. Thank you. Ridership. We continue to see a climb in ridership from the historical dip in the colder months, similar to earlier this year. We anticipate an increase in the return to school, with the return to school, and even more companies implementing a return to work and office policy. As we have seen in previous years. In fact, MARTA's return to office work 5 days a week will begin next week. We're also looking forward to our new AFC 2.0 payment system, which I'll discuss a little bit more later, which will also help prevent fare evasion and give us more accurate ridership data. As to Airport Station, we continue to see progression at the Airport Station Rehabilitation Project. The second elevator has been installed, which is the image on the left, and tile work on the exterior is underway. Crews have also made great progress on the new ride store, which is the image on the right, and in the middle is our art installation, which continues to be a social media worthy spot to grab a picture. Let's dig into our capital expansion here within the county. I'm going to start with the MARTA Rapid South Lake update. The administration, that's the federal administration, changes such as FTA layoffs, CIG scoring changes, and more have pushed back our CIG rating expectations to later this year for this project. However, the South Lake BRT project was mentioned in the President's report for annual funding recommendations for the upcoming fiscal year. This is just one step in the process as we continue to await final awards. We have pushed forward with the MARTA planning, holding a week-long peer review workshop with a few consultant teams performing a collaborative review of the South Lake BRT 30% design project. Our recently awarded final design consultant, CDM Smith, was included in those talks, and upon completion of the workshop, a few safety revisions and design recommendations were provided, which will all be of assistance for our final design team. As part and parcel to the Rapid South Lake project, we conducted a South Lake TOD study tour. 23 stakeholders joined MARTA for the South Lake BRT TOD study tour. Those stakeholders included representatives from Clayton County Board of Education, city and county planning offices, public works departments, and representatives from South Lake Mall management. MARTA's transit-oriented development project team conducted a guided bus and walking tour of the South Lake BRT corridor, marking the launch of the TOD study. Now through December 2025, this study will be exploring economic development opportunities and future land use strategies along the corridor in partnership with our county representatives. The bus ride included a tour of the corridor with a walking audit. Stakeholders observed current conditions, shared observations and ideas to inform future planning, and the bus made several stops within the corridor, including 6 station areas that included the Medical Center / Flint River stop, the Garden Walk stop area, and the State Route 85 / Riverside area. The next project I want to get into is the multi-purpose operations and maintenance facility. We are very excited about this project at MARTA. The demolition process is approximately 80% complete. Here are a few aerials to show the clearing of the buildings and materials on the site. We anticipate to put out the bid for a final design in the second quarter of 2026, with a project start at the end of next year and construction finishing in 2029. The project has an overall budget of $289 million. The next project I'd like to quickly brief you on is our Justice Center Transit Hub. We're at 100% design and cost estimates have been completed. We have completed the safety and security certification process for this project, and a bid for construction should be out on the street in Q1 of 2026. With this project, 2 out of the 4 Clayton projects will be under construction by Q4 of 2026. The first picture on the top is the safety fencing that we've installed around the current amenities as we prepare for construction, and the second picture on the bottom is a rendering of the final product. I'd like to chime in just a little bit on some other news, beginning with community engagement. On June 28th, MARTA joined with Clayton County Commissioner Hambrick for her annual June Jam community event, which provided a bus along with information tables to share updates on the Clayton County projects. On July 19th, MARTA was out with the City of Riverdale for its Back to School event, providing school supplies, ride guides, and clear bags for over 200 families. In collaboration with Commissioner Hambrick, we hosted 2 Gooder Grocery Market pop-ups on July 24th and September 3rd, providing free groceries to 100 seniors and families, including everything from fresh produce, meats, dairy products, and the like at the Frank Bailey Senior Center. In addition to groceries, as shown in pictures 1 and 2, we provided MARTA giveaways, including loaded Breeze cards, and human resources representatives were on site to provide career information for attendees to take themselves or take back to their families and friends who might be interested in opportunities to work with MARTA. Gooder events that will continue through the end of the year across Clayton County will include an event on Tuesday, September 23rd, not next Tuesday, but on the 23rd of this month. The Senior Center, named in the honor of former Commissioner Sonia Singleton Gregory, we will have an event. This is also an IT capital project, but it's also in other news. AFC 2.0, or our Automated Fare Collection System 2.0, better known as Breeze, impacts all of our jurisdictions. By next summer, our Automated Fare Collection project will deliver a better Breeze fare system, allowing riders to pay directly at fare gates with credit cards and debit cards, virtual wallets, virtual Breeze cards, and of course, our own Breeze card, physical Breeze card. Late next year, patrons will be able to buy Breeze card from selected retailers from around the region, so they don't even have to go to one of our ticket vending machines if they don't want to get one of these Breeze cards. We will have a new fare box. We'll have new fare boxes and validators on all the buses as well. The new ticket vending machines will have an easier to use format, reduce lines, and the new fare gates are designed to reduce fare evasion and make the system safer as well as look more aesthetically pleasing. We're installing the pilot fare gate in late September of this year at Lindbergh. MARTA will be conducting an extensive public education and outreach campaign that will begin in January regarding the new system in anticipation of our spring launch of AFC 2.0. Last but certainly not least is safety. MARTA is one of the safest transit agencies in the nation. We partner with neighboring public safety and law enforcement agencies to help reduce crime in nearby communities and therefore on our system. We have a variety of crime reduction details staged throughout the system randomly. Most recently, we've conducted more targeted enforcement actions in Atlanta, East Point, College Park, South Fulton, Dunwoody, and Sanders Springs, among others. The Georgia State Patrol and our local sheriff's departments are always ready to assist and partner with us. The MARTA Police Department is 300 strong, including uniformed officers, non-sworn security officers called Field Protective Specialists, plainclothes officers, K-9 unit, a bike unit, a motorcycle unit, a special operations response team, bomb officers, along with a drone unit. All of these teams combat crime and keep our system safe. In addition to our staff, we have partnerships with the FBI, U.S. Marshal's Office, and the TSA Viper teams. Our Ride with Respect program works to curb those behaviors that violate our rules and criminal behaviors. Often these activities are what give our system the perception that it is not safe. We are tackling this with empathetic enforcement. Additionally, we partner with the TSA for annual tabletop exercises and real-world exercises to respond to any emergencies. And in fact, your MARTA Police Department has received the top award from the TSA for preparedness. With that, I'm going to stop talking for a moment and open it up to the commissioners for questions.
All right,
comments,
board
or
members, are there
concerns.
any questions at this time? I start to the right of me, Commissioner Allen.
Thank you for your presentation. But what my issue is with MARTA is the MARTA mobility bus. I have several seniors that's disabled in my district. I get about 5 or 10 calls a day saying that they are too far for the bus to come down. So I think we should start having conversations around getting the mobility bus to Hampton and the Jonesboro areas. So that is what I would like to talk about.
We will, I'm taking a note. I'm
Thank you.
fully focused on you, sorry.
But the presentation and all that is great, but that is the concern for my district.
I will definitely take a look at it, and our mobility, our operations and maintenance facility we're building in Clayton County will have mobility services located there as well, so that should help with that, but we will look into the Hampton and Jonesboro areas with
Thank
respect to
you.
mobility.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Hunt. I just want
Good
to first
evening.
of all say thank you all for participating in the our GDOT forum or conference here in Clayton County. It was awesome, and you all did a awesome job talking about the services and everything that MARTA renders throughout our county. I want to talk about two things. The first thing is I want to know when will the second phase of the BRT start for the South Lake Corridor, BRT corridor. And I also would like to know when we will start looking at bus service around Clayton State University, because again, we want to continue to get people enrolled in Clayton State, and we want MARTA to be a way for them to get there. We were looking at some other modes of transportation, as I'm always looking at PRT, BRT, the driverless cars and things of that nature. But I really want to see, what we can do again to make sure that our students in Clayton State have accessibility to MARTA.
As part of our overall bus network redesign, we will, I'll take it back to our planners and look at the Clayton State corridor to see if that's covered. And on the second phase of the BRT, I know our team wants to do some individual sit-downs with each one of the commissioners. Let us do a deep dive so I can give you accurate and more definitive information on exactly when the second phase is going to start.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hamburg?
Yes. I'm not just trying to be cool tonight, but I'm having trouble with my right eye.
I understand and
yes.
relate.
I believe it's been reported, but there's a bus stop across diagonal to the Frank Bailey Senior Center that was knocked down during an auto accident some months ago. And I've had a couple of the riders from the center to ask me about it. And it's been reported, but as of last week, it's still down.
It's still down.
It's still
We
down.
will action that. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay, and let me give you all just a big thank you for the partnership you have with Goodar. I mean,
We love our partnership.
yes, I mean, they were just terrific for both times at the Senior Center, and I just can't thank you all enough
Thank
for
you.
doing that. So thank you, and of course, thank you for your presentation, and especially the update on the building maintenance
Thank you.
facility.
All right. Mr. Davis?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I have a couple of questions for you. As far as our allocated penny which goes into it, how much has been raised, how much has been allocated, how much has been spent on that? Do you have those type of numbers?
I do not
that
have
we
them
can
off the
get?
top of my head,
Okay.
but with our one-on-ones, we'll bring that
Great.
to each one of you in detail.
Okay. That's
Thank you,
that's fine.
Commissioner
Yeah, we
Davis.
need that, as well as how, with the current administration we have at the federal level,
Yes.
how will that impact us with some of the funding opportunities that are necessary to get these projects running and complete?
We consistently pursue grants very aggressively, regardless of the administration. The current administration, and we're very pleased with them naming the South Lake BRT project in their report, but it's going to be a little bit of a challenge,
Yes.
and that's across the board. That isn't unique to MARTA. That's within the whole transit
I would ask
industry.
over the next couple of years
Yeah.
that MARTA keep this board updated on the findings that are taking place, as well as some of the anticipated hurdles that might be coming up by emergency. I'll just say it like that. Also, the security you spoke about. What is the level of security that has been posted or raised at the Clayton County stops or stations?
So on our bus, that's why I was focusing in on our response teams.
Yes.
Because we do those in partnership with local jurisdictions where we actually do sweeps, and the jurisdictions will identify areas that might have higher incidence of crimes or maybe have reported things, and we'll have our bus stops or bus intermodals that are in those areas. Our MPD partners with the sheriff or police departments and conducts those sweeps concurrently, so that if the individual's in and around one of our stops, we'll pick them up, or vice versa if they're in the public right.
And those numbers are passed on to Clayton County Police Department as well?
Yeah, yes. Our chief maintains a very close relationship with Clayton County.
Thank you, and congratulations on your new position.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And Mr. Hunt, before, you have one more question?
It's not a question. I just want to give a shout out. First of all, thank you, Chris Williams, for coming to Frank Bailey Center. And I can't say thank you enough for Tony Thornton. She is just terrific.
We love
she
Tony.
has worked very well with staff and all, and with myself. So thank you for her. So, yes.
We let her go, so it's our fault.
She's great. She's great. Yes.
Mr. Hunt, before we kind of discuss through our link trip and some other some other discussions, let's talk about economic development. And as you all plan out the BRT, how are you planning out for sidewalks, or how are you planning to cohesively put together more or less, your BRT as it pertains to housing and things of that nature?
So that's a great question. Thank you for that. First and foremost, the BRT, locally preferred alternative alignment, is going to be done in coordination with the commissioners, your office, the planning, and along those, a lot of the property isn't in our control. But what we've done and what we have experience with is what we call transit adjacent development, or TADs, also transit oriented development when it's actually on our property, and helping those entities program and often directing to them where they can get dollars and advancing it in that manner. At the end stations and the terminuses, those are the areas where we have a little bit more input because we have more land to control.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, always informative. And again, let's just give Marta a round of applause, because a lot of times, Marta, you all don't get your kudos. And so again, thank you all for working with Clayton County, and thank you for helping to move us forward.
Thank you for being a partner.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next, we will have our Tax Commissioner Office, Ms. Danielle Smith. Good evening.
Madam Chair, esteemed board members, hey everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. You all know, because I've been blowing up, Chairwoman's email with signatures for our state digest, so it's been a little crazy as we approach property tax season. I just felt it would be the right time to clarify the role of the tax commissioner and what we do, what we do not do, and be here for the public. Now let me make sure I do this clicker right. There we go. Maybe I need to get closer. So in short, I'm Danielle Smith. I am the Clayton County Tax Commissioner. Who are we? Well, there's the TCO, the Tax Commissioner's Office, the TAO, the Tax Assessor's Office, and then we have our BOC, the Board of Commissioners. And a lot of times there's a tad bit of confusion, right? The tax commissioner, sometimes they mix up the tax commissioner with being a part of the Board of Commissioners. And so I just want to clarify the roles, the values, your millage rate versus the billing. The two factors together that calculate the amount of your bill come from the values and your millage rate. There are seasons for every part that each one of us plays. The assessment notices usually go out late April, and the appeals deadline is usually early to mid-June. This year is a little different for all of us because of legislative changes, so there was a big delay this year with this entire process. But under normal circumstances, your assessment notices will go out late April, and you have until first or second week in June to appeal. Millage rate process is usually mid-July and complete around mid-August at the latest. Again, this year is different. After these processes are complete, then your property tax bills are generated and mailed out. This year we anticipate, although they usually go out around mid-September and due around mid-November, it'll be a delayed process this year because everything else was delayed. So we anticipate and hope, fingers crossed, that bills will go out closer to the end of September this year, okay? But we'll keep you posted. We'll keep the board aware of that mail-out date, so that way we can keep the public made aware. What we do not do, the tax commissioner's office is not responsible to assess the values on your property. That's the tax assessor's department. We don't set the millage rate. That's our board of commissioners. And the tax commissioner is not responsible. Everybody knows my famous saying, I don't raise or lower your taxes. If I cannot get the credit for lowering them, please don't give me the blame for raising them. Your board of commissioners, everybody who's in this room already knows this. Most folks that come to the meetings know who their commissioner is and know our chairwoman. What do? We bill for property, both real and personal, motor vehicle, mobile homes, businesses. We send out the bills for those taxes. We collect those taxes. We disperse or distribute those taxes to the county, our local cities, our fire, and Board of Education. We handle exemptions applications, for example, your homestead exemptions, and we handle the initial process of the business license applications. Now that the appeals deadline is passed, what's next? Well, all of this pretty much has happened. Everybody's already had all of their millage rate hearings, be that the BOE, the BOC, the cities, et cetera. Some cities have not, but this year's processes, again, were delayed from what it usually is. Property tax bills, again, we hope that they will go out around the end of September, and they'll be due 60 days after. What if I'm under appeal? This is a question we receive often from our residents who have appealed their value. What happens when you're under appeal? You receive two bills. Anyone under appeal will receive an 85% bill first, and after your appeal is settled, then you'll receive either a refund if your appeal resulted in a decrease in your value, or you'll receive a bill which will be due 60 days from the date that it's sent out for the remainder due. Okay, so if you receive that first bill and you're under appeal, a lot of times folks feel like I'm under appeal, so I don't have to deal with this till the appeal is final, and that's not true. If you're under appeal, the bill is still due by whatever the due date is, be that your 85% or, the whole bill, okay? You do have the option to request a 100% bill. Some folks may not want a 85% bill. They just want to pay it all, and whatever the result of their appeal, they'll deal with it then. You do have the right to call our office and request a 100% bill, okay? But you do have 60 days after you receive your corrected bill. If you have any additional questions, you can join us for Your Time with the Tax Commissioner. That's our monthly webinar where we take time just to answer questions for residents, discuss things that are upcoming, tell you about upcoming events, or talk about this tax cycle. You can log on at the Tax Commissioner's website at claytoncountyga.gov and just go to the Tax Commissioner's page to register, okay? And that's all I have. I'll yield the floor for questions.
All right, board members, are there any questions at this time? Nobody wants to talk about taxes? No.
I do. So just one
Mr.
quick
Davis.
thing, and thank you for this. Some of this information broken down and simplified is very, very advantageous for all.
Oh, you know what? Oh, well,
You don't have no more questions.
I sure had another.
Was
I
it
did.
HB
It was
I knew
HB8.
it.
I
I
said,
knew
this
it.
is not the
HB
updated.
580.
So can I touch on it just for a
Yes,
little
ma'am.
bit? I mean, this is a good piece.
I'm not going to thank you now.
Well, no, you should. First of all, let me say this.
Go ahead.
HB 870 was the other piece to the presentation. I'm not sure how it didn't get updated, but HB 870 is, in short, our local legislation that kind of mimics HB 581, but it benefits a certain sector of our residents or population here in Clayton County. So thanks to our Board of Commissioners, thank you, first of all, for all you do, but thank you for proposing this piece of legislation, as it does provide critical relief to some who are a part of our more disadvantaged categories of residents. So, for example, our seniors, disabled veterans, surviving spouses of peace officers or firefighters who died in the line of duty, and 100% disabled individuals. This exemption, if you vote in favor, will apply to those categories that I just named. Our seniors, that's the only category you have to have or meet the age requirement. In Clayton County, the only requirement for our senior exemption is that you are 65 years or older on January 1 of any given year. That's it. As long as you can show proof of your age as of January 1, you're eligible for that senior exemption, as long as you own a home in Clayton County and it is your primary residence. So HB 870, it only applies to homesteaded properties. This has to be your primary residence. It's not for rental properties or anything else. But thanks to our Board of Commissioners for proposing this legislation, now it's up to us to vote. And you don't have to be in one of those categories to vote, right? You need to vote regardless, because that's what we're all here for, to take care of each other. And so everybody knows a senior. It could be your grandmother or somebody else. It could be a parent. It could be anyone. It could be your neighbor. But we need everybody to step up to the plate and ensure that you vote for HB 870, because it is going to provide critical property tax relief to those categories of folks that I mentioned. Okay? So, and that is only for 4 years. That property tax relief is good if it passes from January 1 of 2026 to December 31st of 2030.
And that election takes place when?
November 4th is that election. So you can look on our elections page, ClaytonCountyGA.gov, go to the elections page. The deadline to make sure you're registered to vote will be listed there. Our early voting dates are listed there, and November 4th is the actual election date. I highly encourage everyone, because of things happening with the purging of the rolls, you need to make sure that your voter registration is active. Even if you think you're good, make sure, and don't wait till the last minute.
Going back to the appeals, and I'll start easy. Whose office handles the appeals? And
The
appeal
tax
process?
assessor's department handles the appeals, not the tax commissioner's office. Yes.
Not the tax commissioner's
No.
office. There we go. And those appeals are handled for what kind of duration?
So 45 days from the time those notices are mailed out. So you have 45 days to appeal once the notices are mailed out. This year, our appeals deadline was very late compared to normal. It was July 14th, when normally it's no later than the second week in June.
Okay. So we don't need to call the tax commissioner's office about appeals.
No, but we'll transfer you if you do.
Thank you.
Also, don't forget to remind our seniors who are eligible to no longer pay school taxes, their age and when that opening comes up as well.
So our homestead exemption season, so to speak, is always January 1 through April 1. To be eligible for the senior exemption, you have to be 65 years or older on January 1. So suppose you turn 65 on January 2nd,
Okay, you don't get
you
it.
cannot receive it for that year. You can still apply, it just won't go into effect until the following year. You have to be 65 years old or older on January 1, but the normal window for exemptions applications is January 1 through April 1 in terms of homestead exemptions. Now, our disabled veterans, they can come anytime. Once they get their letter from the VA, they can come in and apply and just present that letter. Yeah, or those that are applying for the 100% disability exemption. You don't have to be a certain age. You can apply for that at any point. The homestead exemption is January 1 to April 1. If you apply outside of that window, then you can still come in. You can come in April, May, June, whenever. But if it's after April 1, it won't go into effect till the following year.
Right. Well, thank you for all of those clarifications, and
Okay.
thank you for making sure that our citizens are up to date and know who to call, when to call, and where to call as well.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Board-
Commissioner Hambrick, I like your
Commissioner Hambrick.
glasses, by the way.
I just want to say, Madam Tax Commissioner.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the educational pieces that you do all over, and especially
you.
for that Wednesday, Senior Wednesday and all,
Yeah.
to help educate our citizens. So I'm very appreciative of that. So
Thank
you
you.
so much.
And to educate and accommodate. So initially, when we started our Senior Wednesdays, our lines were a lot longer. So our effort was to make sure our seniors didn't have to wait so long. Now, thankfully, thanks to a great team in place, the lines are really not an issue anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Have an awesome night. Thank you. Next on our agenda will be the coordinated entry addressing homelessness/unhoused in Clayton County. Our COO, Dietrich Stanford. And before we get started, I just wanted to commend Mr. Stanford because we took a trip to Tampa to visit Pinellas County, and Pinellas Hope and Tampa Hope, and where we worked with the City of Atlanta and I think the CAB was there, all of our regional counties were there. And the purpose of us going is because we know that we do have a homeless population in our area. And a lot of our unhoused, some of them live in hotels, some of them live in the woods. And so as we look at the World Cup and FIFA coming, the first thing many of our citizens say, Dr. Anderson, don't let Atlanta or any other county send their homeless to Clayton County. So we wanted to make sure that we all discuss this as a region, and we were able to see 2 homeless shelters, and we're gonna, and I'll let you talk about it a little bit more because I don't want to steal your thunder, CO. But we were able to see 2 homeless shelters. We were able to see the layout of those homeless shelters, and then we came back as a region and talked about how we would take that model and use it from Clayton to Henry to DeKalb, so we will all be incoherent together. So I'll let you go, and thank you again.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner and Board of Commissioners. It's good seeing everyone again this evening. Just to kind of add on a little bit before we get into the presentation, I'll be brief with the details that we're providing. Our Board of Commissioners have been tasked with quite a bit of information from the citizens about the address the unhoused and homelessness in Clayton County. Just as we've got requests from Calvary about how do we address funding for them, we've gotten requests from other municipalities or either nonprofits about funding that might help address the unhoused. We also recognize on a national level the challenges that we're having throughout the country as it pertains to homelessness and housing as a whole. So this conversation is timely. And so I think one of the things we want to bring to the table is talk about coordinated entry. And I know some citizens have come to the Board of Commissioners asking for relief because they say either the people they're calling, they're not getting them the resources, or they're not getting return phone calls. So the coordinated entry will give us an opportunity to tell you more about what that is and ultimately the other pipelines that are in place to really address some of the needs comprehensively throughout the county. So first, I want to give you a brief history of where we are. Clayton County is under the balance of the state continuum of care, and we'll talk about the COC here in a minute. But 2018, the Department of Community Affairs started working with Clayton County to develop the Clayton County Coordinated Entry. From 2018 to 2020, the coordinated entry plan was developed and the kickoff was set, and then of March of 2020, the world saw a huge change as the pandemic hit us and it stopped implementation. From 2018 to 2021, there were 2 lead agencies that were unable to continue this position. So in April 2021, Hearts and Nourish Hope became the lead agency for Clayton County Coordinated Entry and operated the CCOE. In July of 2023, the official Clayton County Coordinated Entry was formally kicked off, and a Healthy Housing Conference in conjunction with the Clayton County Public Schools, which play a huge role when we talk about truancy and we talk about homelessness in the county. The school system helps us generate that number. That gives us about 5,000 plus families to date that have applied and have been processed through the CCOE. So what are the benefits associated with coordinated entry? The 4 bullet points you see before you is access to a countywide referral and data system. It's a shared tool and training opportunities. It provides visibility and connection with a wide service network. And lastly, performance data to support grant writing and sustainability. So before I go any further, as we talk specifically about what role Hearts and Nourish Hope play as far as coordinated entry, I want to give big kudos to our Office of Grants Administration. Ms. Linda Boswell plays a huge role with the grant writing, as well as some of the funding that comes in, whether we're talking about housing instability or the unhoused. Her office plays a huge role to make sure funding goes into that space. So the Clayton County Coordinated Entry, it looks at what we consider a centralized or repository for multiple sites. And I won't read all of that, but the 2 major bullet points there. The plan for providing coordinated entry across the county is to oversee several smaller county-based access points. So for instance, if there's a primary that received funding, if the board provides funding to smaller agencies, the goal is to still have an entry point. So 1, we can get a performance metric in place to know how many people are being displaced because of homelessness. And then 2, you have data so that when we're talking about approving that system overall, we know where that money should go because we have data to support that. The access points can be virtual, phone-based. The VI, which is a CDAP system that gives us data to give us a sense about completing that via hard copy, and all partner agencies can complete the assessment and the referrals. So this is kind of giving you a visual of really what the coordinated entry core elements are. At the top is really what we will talk about: the access, assessment, prioritization, and referrals. The access disengagement point for persons referring persons experiencing a housing crisis could look and function differently depending upon the specific community. So persons like the family, single adults, or youth might initially assess the crisis response system by calling a crisis hotline or other information and referral resources, walking to an access point facility, or being engaged through outreach efforts. So again, there's multiple ways in which people can provide information, whether it's through a phone call, whether it's through a form, or going into a particular facility to get a sense of what are the resources you need and how can we help you with that. Upon the initial assessment, I talked earlier about a continuum of care. The continuum of care could be a multitude of things. I need money for a phone bill, say for an electric bill. I need resources for rental. I need food assistance because I live in a food desert and I don't have access to food. The continuum of care might be to a multitude of phone calls that give them the resources that need. Even though they may be unhoused, there's still other resources that might be needed at the table. So the assessment point gives them that information. Prioritization and referrals, again, during that assessment period, the prioritization helps the COC, which is the continuum of care, manages inventory of the community housing resources and services. That oftentimes turn into what we call the referral period. The persons are referred to available continuum of care housing resources, and then ultimately they take that information to make sure that those individuals are given resources over a period of time to ultimately assist to what we consider stability when it's all said and done. So issues may arise when there are no services available, but again, we still try to keep track of that because as additional resources may come in from the state or federal government, they will know where to allocate those resources over time. This is kind of giving you a list of what the coordinated entry does not do. I won't read all that, but in essence, there are certain things that are not there: direct services. It does not create new programs. It does not guarantee anyone that will get assistance that they are requesting. It does not provide financial support or funding, and it does not necessarily qualify families for continuous services over a period of time. So this is kind of giving you a sense of some of the numbers over a period of time from July 2023 to June 2025. Again, we're looking at an excess of over 5,000 families that have been entered into the entry point for the coordinated entry for the county over that 2-year period. 100% of those individuals were contacted, sent resources, or assessed. Doesn't mean that they got resources to really continue over a period of time, but they were contacted to give them some other resources that might be available to them. Of that number, about 45% of the families who were diverted and found assistance with little to no direct financial funding and supportive services. 38% of those families were given housing assistance from either street outreach, rapid rehousing, emergency shelter, the warming centers, or rental assistance. And again, a lot of you all have played a huge role in assisting some of those areas, whether it's the warming centers or just providing resources to the emergency shelter. And then lastly, 70% of the families did not qualify or did not complete the full application to determine where they can be reassessed or put into the system based upon an incomplete application on hand. So real quick, I'll go through really what are some of the other wraparound or some of the other initiatives that are in place. That includes the street outreach. That might include bus passes, food, help obtaining documents needed, mental and medical linkages to care, assistance to applying for safe and stable housing. So again, those are some of the other services that are taking place. So when somebody might see someone that's been displaced, they try to ensure that they give them some of those resources to let them know where they can get additional linkages in the community. The homeless services we talked about already, where we're talking about conducting a warming center based upon the weather conditions outside. The county's played a huge role in working with nonprofits and others to ensure that there's other resources in place to address that. And then lastly, emergency shelters, immediate low barrier housing for families in crisis. You might be putting them up in an extended stay. It might be a multitude of other ways to take care of some immediate housing to ensure that they get out of the elements. Transitional housing, provide temporary housing, whether that's funding that's getting from our HUD program or getting through our Office of Grants Administration or working through our nonprofits. Transitional housing is looked upon as a means to help with that, even the Housing Authority. The rapid rehousing is a short to medium term rental assistance with case management, and they focus on housing stability, income growth, and self-sufficiency. The last two would be the homeless prevention assistance with families no more than 3 months behind on rent. They require proof of income and ability to sustain rent moving forward. And it covers past due rent and connects families with resources and workshops. And of course, I talked about earlier about the street outreach. They might provide, hygiene kits, food, transportation, a multitude of other things to look at how do we get you to a point to address those wraparound services under housing or rehousing. Just kind of give you a visual real quick of some of the stats. What really jumped out at us is we talk about a lot of our time and efforts are put into 54% of our resources are looked upon homeless prevention primarily. Of course, there's other areas we look at, but homeless prevention has been our primary focal point as it pertains to allocating our resources in the community. Annual income. We talk about individuals and we say homelessness is not an income-based issue. It hits all communities and it hits all income levels. But primarily we're looking at our largest percentile has been 40%. And of course, you're getting around the poverty level when you're talking about individuals that are making less than $30,000 a year. And sometimes that's average anywhere between a family of 5 or 6. So imagine trying to have a livable wage of $30,000 and you have a family of 5 to 6 to sustain that over a longer period of time. This is talking about the disability status. Or 68% of those individuals are not disabled, but do recognize that 30% that are asking for assistance, that 31% is about 701 of our residents are in space that have a disability in space. So sometimes it's not the inability to get work, it's the ability what type of work is out there, so that when I'm trying to get stable income in place, are there enough jobs in our inventory to address those individuals that might have a disability? So the last thing I want to cover, Madam Chair talked specifically about our visit to Tampa. This is called the Housing Innovation Exchange. The actual nonprofit that played a huge role in that discussion was called the Catholic Charities. Maggie, who was the facilitator of a lot of discussions over that day discussion, talk really about how did they maximize resources, not just from local government, but how do they incorporate the philanthropic community in space? How do they use other nonprofits to look at the wraparound services? And as Madam Chair talked about, there were 2 camps that we ended up visiting, the Pinellas Hope location and the Tampa Hope location. And so I wanted to kind of show you real quick a couple of the pictures. These are in the top left-hand corner of the flyer. You see kind of what they consider their congregate space that might be utilized where they have eating. They may have space for, to be able to clean up within the respective space. Then they have it in their individual units, but they kind of have this one congregated space that you can come to address some of those needs that might take place on the property. What you see in the bottom right are what they call pods. The pods can sleep up to 2 people in the space. It was self-sufficient as it pertains to electricity in said space, but really it usually was a space for just housing alone. It didn't take care of the opportunity to do any cooking or doing any cleaning in space, but clearly to get people out of the elements in Florida, and of course you're going to imagine how the humidity was that day. So dealing with that element sometime, the pods at least gave those individuals an opportunity to get out of that space. And then what they eventually end up doing, they have transitional housing. So you may go from a pod, or you may go from a tent to a pod, from a pod to a housing unit to an apartment complex. And so depending upon where you are and based upon your workforce status and some other things, you might make a progressive step throughout that system until sometime they can get you some stable housing in space. I think their operating budget, they end up receiving about $1 million from the municipal government, but their actual operating budget was anywhere between $6 to $7 million annually, and a lot of that money was coming through philanthropic donations and other fundraisers they might have had over that year's period of time. One of the things I thought was important, the Tampa Hillsborough had a homeless initiative, and they end up coming with an internal policy for their board. And so this is kind of giving an opportunity to kind of talk about the board sees the value in developing a homeless policy in space of what the role the Board of Commissioners may play. And we all recognize at the end of the day, the board may not always play a role in providing the financial stability that's needed for all the resources in the county. But we can certainly play a role from a policy direction. It may be looking at how the zoning might be to be able to augment in some zoning to have pods in a certain place in order for those that might have philanthropic dollars to come to the table. The zoning change alone may play a huge role in determining where we can even place some of these encampments, because realize it or not, we have a few encampments throughout the county that are very visible and is becoming more prevalent that don't really meet what we consider the zoning standards associated with that type of housing. So this is kind of giving you an update on how that housing policy potentially could be utilized. So with that, that's all I have, and I'll yield questions to the board for anything you have about this initiative.
All right, board members, are there any questions at this time? Commissioner Allen?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So my question is going to be about the coordinated entry, the access point. How do we change the leading agency? So is there another agency in the county that could possibly become the leading agency for the intake process? What does that look like?
Yes, ma'am. So DCA, Department of Community Affairs, serves as the overarching who would be that point of contact when should be providing that information. I think it's just a matter of the board deciding who should be that coordinated entry point, who or what organization, and we can then in turn provide that information to DCA as to that being the entry point for the county, so everybody will know specifically what should be the access point in place if they have any questions about referrals and resources.
And do you know how many people are on staff now for this this agency to answer the calls?
We have
Ms. England.
Ms. England, can you come up, please?
Thank you for having me here tonight. You wanted to know how many
staff we have just to answer the calls.
Or whatever, when they're
Yeah.
filling out website forms, coming in the office or calling, how many people do you have on staff daily?
Right now, let's see, we just hired some new people because we got some new funding from DCA that I'm excited to share with you guys as well. We've got about 8 to 10 in our housing staff right now.
So you have 8 to 10 paid people?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on your staff to take the calls. And do you know about how many calls or inquiries you get a day?
We try to, I don't have the calls right now, but everybody is sent to the website. Either they can get through it through Hearts, or they go right to the Clayton County Coordinated Entry website, and they fill out an interest form. We've let as many of the school and community members know, and then what we do is we follow up after we get that information. Then we're giving them calls, we're following up with emails, we're doing an individual assessment. We also are partnering with a counseling group that actually does a risk and needs assessment and identifying any other needs and supportive services that they need.
So how can I get a report of the families that you guys help or refer to other agencies?
You just need to ask for it. If you look, I know with some of our funding, we did provide you guys with through the, what is it? The, what's the funding that comes directly from the board?
CDGB?
Not CDBG, that comes through.
Local assistance. Local
Yeah,
assistance.
so if you look, we've provided a report with names, and I think we did names, and I think you need it like the zip codes all broken down. But if you just let me know anything you want, everything is in a database. We host our own database that is able to do that, and that's how we're able to have the numbers and the data and those kind of things.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Commissioner, to your point, because one of the things the board, from an operations standpoint, is holding us accountable for is how do we provide these after-action reports and do it more systematically. So part of what we recognize in the coordinated entry discussion that we're still learning because there was a disconnect post-pandemic. We were not necessarily looking at reports to figure out how can we do better as it pertains to addressing the unhoused in the community. So part of the conversation that we've had with Ms. England, and even part of the discussion in Tampa, because she ended up going to Tampa as well to look at some of the resources they were utilizing, we recognize that we need to develop an after-action report. So even the information that's being captured on the website, the information that we're getting from phone calls here, there needs to be a central repository of how that information is being captured. So therefore, we can provide you at a minimum a quarterly report, if not a monthly report.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, just for my understanding. So essentially, a citizen can fill out the coordinated entry form, and then it is your organization who connects them to the resources.
Yes, ma'am.
And all the agencies are involved. We just happen to be the lead agency, so we need to get our other agencies involved. But yes, it comes through our office. Then each day, we average on a daily, as far as the interest forms go, anywhere from an average of 20 to 25, and then they're divided out into what their needs are, and then we call them each within 24 to 48 hours. They're getting a phone call, and these are business hours, and then within 24 hours, they also get an email that says, welcome, and this is what's going on. We implement an orientation, so twice a month we have an orientation, so that's when they can come in, we sit everybody down, we go over the whole process of what's going on. We offer 1 day a week that they can come in and bring all their documents if they're having a hard time filling out the next step, which is the pre-application, and my staff sit with them, we upload their documents, we complete their pre-application, and then we're working to get them where they, where the resources are. One of the biggest problems is there's not enough resources for everyone, and we have been we've worked really hard with DCA in bringing in additional resources, and we just received a grant. It's a $250,000 grant for 4 years, so that's $1 million that we're bringing in for supportive services. So it won't pay to like build or emergency shelter. It doesn't pay for hotels, but what it pays for are all those supportive services to help. We can do a little bit of rapid rehousing, a little bit of homeless prevention, but it's primarily to do all the services to take that person who is homeless and get them everything from medical and mental, life skills, financial literacy, and into a home that they can then afford.
So the grant, is it going to be servicing Clayton only? Because I do know you have another, you service another county, so that grant, is it for Clayton only, or is it going
I've
to be split?
gotten one grant for Clayton County for $1 million over 4 years, and then I was also awarded another grant for $1 million that'll be spread over Henry, Spalding, and Fayette County, and that goes towards, we're trying to do something very collaboratively with Atlanta, and so we have been chosen to do this Southern Crescent region so that we can make sure that we have a collaborative thing. Everybody doesn't come to Clayton who's homeless in the other counties, and the other counties are able to put in support and funding for it as well.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Ms. England, also I know we talked about the website, and so we talked about looking at the other nonprofits within Clayton County and including them on that website as well, so we can make sure, especially all of our nonprofits that are registered through the county, so including them, because some of them do the same thing, some of them do something different, but including them on that website so we can start taking those. If a person comes in and they say, I need my power bill paid, and including, this is the place you will go to help with your power bill. This was the nonprofit. So just bringing those nonprofits together, can you just kind of explain that part?
Sure, and that's the key to coordinated entry, is not just coordinating the intake, but it's coordinating all the services that the nonprofits do so that a lot of stuff can be done electronically. We right now have 26 nonprofits that are working with us and helping in the planning as we're developing this some more. And so the more information that we can keep up, like we may have 3 different agencies, PCCI, Project Community Connects, that will do, say, rental assistance. The Housing Authority does rental assistance, and there are times when we have a rental assistance. But the Housing Authority will help with 1 month. PCCI may help with 3 months. So doing and putting the stuff in the database, we're able to match up quickly and make a referral that's had some pre-screening, as well as getting them these other resources that they need. And so it's important, and we want you as our board to really kind of pull those agencies and encourage them. We also can track, and it will help the agency. So if we have a newer agency that's working. One, they get the support from the coordinated entry and the team and the people that are involved in that, the other nonprofits. Then if they maybe don't have a lot of funding and they can't have a database, or it's really hard to keep all their records, we can, within coordinated entry, keep track of that, where we're sending them that information and saying, we sent you 10 referrals and you helped all 10 people, or you'd help 15 people, and that way now they're enhanced with having data and having the availability, so then when they do go for grants, they can put that they're part of coordinated entry, so we know that they're not, just kind of on their own, and then they have some data to really back that up. And if we all work together, and the focus is on the community and what the community needs, then everybody wins, and all our nonprofits win, and we can leverage funds. Sometimes a nonprofit will get money that they have to spend in the next 3 months. Somebody else may have the same type of funding, but they have 6 months to spend it. Now, we got to work together. This agency that has 6 months we may say, hey, we really need to help this other entity to spend that money, because guess what? If it doesn't get spent, it goes back and it doesn't come back again. So there's a lot of different pieces. And then another arm that I know that you have, I believe all of you as commissioners have expressed an interest, is supporting the nonprofits, and that's another arm that we're looking at doing under this as an added bonus, and really creating, like you had mentioned, a nonprofit academy. So now what we have is not only do we have a whole support for what we're doing, and we're able to see what's missing, we're able to we don't need another GED program because we have too many of those, but we do need more housing programs or whatever it is. But then through this academy, we're really able to support each other and bring up some of the smaller nonprofits and even partner with them. Like we do that. Ujima Way was Daryl. I know a lot of you know Daryl Starks and the great work he did. He started out as Hearts, with Hearts for several years, and then he really had a passion, and I said, hey, let's help you grow. Now, Daryl would have been successful with or without me, but with our help, he was able to be much more successful faster because we worked together, and it's a great partnership.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, I thought you were saying he was gone. I was going to say, no way.
He's still here. So, yeah, and that, I mean, like, that's really a great thing. Like, DCA has funding for street outreach, but he was not at a level where he could meet all the requirements to apply for it. So together, we were able to apply for it. We were able to support and do some of the work. He was able to do the work that I didn't want to do at 12 o'clock at night, running out in the truck to help the people. But together, you know, we were able to get a truck from DCA with our funding. So now we have like a mobile street outreach unit that he drives, and it has the blankets, and we can set up lights and plug in their cell phones and set up an office wherever the encampments are. So that's just a really neat example of when we come together, how we can impact.
Commissioner Hambrick.
Yes, this is not for you, Debbie, but I would like to say thank you so much for over the years. Every time I call, every time Tina calls or whatever, that, you know, we get what we need for the citizens. And I mean, thank you. Tonight is just my night for thank yous or whatever. I really appreciate your service. And I thought you were saying Daryl in the past tense, and I'm thinking, you know, he can't go.
No. We're not losing Daryl.
Okay.
We can't afford to lose Daryl.
Okay. My question is with COO. Okay, this presentation, was this meant for the commissioners to think of? Because I know years ago, one of the reasons we were giving grants to our nonprofits was so that some of them would handle the homelessness and some of the other things that were going on with the county. So is this meant for us, or is this meant for
The public?
for the public?
Both. So the forward-facing portion of the presentation for the board was about thinking about how do we strengthen additional policy development, primarily around housing and the unhoused, or homelessness and the unhoused.
Okay.
And so the back part of the presentation, even though I went through the coordinated entry, because there were some questions about really what is that,
right,
and who is that, and how does that work? Because even at the last board meeting, we had a citizen that came up and was saying they couldn't get in contact, and they didn't know who should they call to get information about resources about homelessness or being unhoused. And so we thought it was important to elevate that. And then as it pertains to the forward piece to the citizens, is again to reiterate what resources are out there. And so one of the things that we certainly will do is update our website with additional connection about the coordinated entry portion, so therefore they'll know specifically where to go to get additional information when there is a disconnect, and then again publicly provide that. But the back piece of this is that to get the board to think about what might be a policy direction to head in, and then we'll make recommendation from a staffing standpoint, and if the board sees value in adopting that policy, then so be it.
Because I do like the idea of us to continue to work with the nonprofits,
yes,
so they can handle that. And I don't want to put Chief on the spot, but
Put him on the
I
spot.
learned something. I learned something interesting, and it may be for other people, not only in Clayton County, but other interests. But Chief, can you come up, the conversation we had, I think last week, and I was using the words interchangeably. I was using warming stations, whatever, and shelters.
Which chief you talking about? DCOO? You talking about Chief Sweat?
Chief
Which-
Sweat.
Chief.
They both set up when you said it, so.
All the chiefs, just come, all the chiefs.
Well, I have 3 chiefs, yes, I do, but this chief knows who I'm talking about. But we had the conversation, and I was talking, and we were talking about the monies and all with Calvary and some other things, and I mentioned warming stations or whatever, and I was using it as shelters, and you corrected me, so will you please tell us, so everybody will know that don't know, maybe everybody else knows, but I just didn't know, the explanation you gave me, which was very helpful and all, and I noticed it was something in this presentation that mentioned the same thing, and I was like, maybe a little something that needs to be clarified in here too.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Commissioner. So in the context of our conversation, we were talking about warming centers and shelters related to some level of disaster or some level of major event that has occurred within the county. So the county's emergency operations plan has a warming center annex and a cooling center annex, and warming centers and cooling centers are meant to be temporary housing or temporary locations for people to go to get out of some level of extreme environment. They're typically during normal business hours when counties and facilities are normally open, and then once the normal operating hours for that facility close, so does the warming center. Shelters, on the other hand, is a very different animal. So when you open up an emergency shelter, you're responsible for a myriad of services. You're responsible not only for the shelter, food, medical care, religious beliefs, pretty much everything that would go into how these individuals live their normal lives, you now have to provide in a shelter. The county has historically, as most people do, partner with the Red Cross to provide our shelter locations. They're inspected by the Red Cross. They have to meet certain standards set by the Red Cross. And if the board chooses to open an emergency shelter, more than likely it's the Red Cross who staffs them and comes down and does that, because if they don't, then the county has to provide medical support. The county has to provide law enforcement for security. The county has to provide all of those resources. It gets very expensive very fast, and then takes away from the public safety personnel that are trying to mitigate whatever incident started the need for a shelter in the first place. So one is very short term, very temporary on a normal operating day basis. The other one can be 24/7 for weeks, just depending on the type of incident. And then, of course, there can be some sheltering that's done within the confines of what Ms. Anglin does through Hearts to Nourish, which is for a different need. It's not disaster related, it's more individually specific related, where they may need some sort of emergency shelter.
Thank you, because I know some others that have come before us have been using the word shelter. We need shelter, it's too cold, it's too whatever, and all. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And most of the times, when I was EMA director and you called, I was very clear, okay, do you want a warming center or do you want a shelter? Because they're very different things, and they mean very different things, and they come with very different price tags.
Right, and speaking of price tags, quickly, Red Cross, if they were called in, or we call them in, how does that work as far as Red Cross comes?
So if the county foresees a need that it may be a shelter, we try to get to Red Cross as soon as we can, because Red Cross also has a very limited number of staff. And if you don't get to them quickly, then 90% of the time they're in Atlanta and some of the more populated areas of the metro. So how it works is we notify Red Cross the county's opening a shelter. If they have the staff available, they send the staff available. Red Cross brings everything with them. At that point, what the county is providing is the facility. And sometimes we'll provide the supplies, we'll get the cots ready, we'll do all of that kind of stuff, get it set up. Emergency management has all of that equipment. What we don't have is the staff.
Okay, just thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
For letting us know that. That was something else.
Commissioner, let me say one thing about the presentation, that in the context of the presentation, that was talking about resources for a multitude of entry points, whether it was the county, whether it was a nonprofit. whether it's a faith-based. So the term warming shelters in that instance didn't necessarily apply to the county's definition of warming shelters. Some of the nonprofits do have warming shelters that fall under a whole different category and how they actually implement them throughout the community. So do recognize that the presentation was really in its totality looking at the impact of warming shelters as it applies to a multitude of functions, whether it's county, city, nonprofit, for faith-based, or whoever that might be providing that service.
All right.
Okay, I mean, I see this, and we were talking about homelessness and all that, and I know last week we were discussing Calvary and all, and the possibility of housing authority assisting, and I see the director back here now, so I didn't know, is this his time to come up and tell us something, or, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Mandela.
Mr. Jones, come on to the front,
but
please.
my suggestion was...
Come on to the podium.
Right. And I have since requests from our attorney if he would just get us some records or get us a financial from Housing Authority, because I think we were saying, weren't sure of your capacity and,
Right.
and whether or not you all were able to
Sure.
assist or whatever with Calvary.
So, hello, Board. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll be really brief. We're still assessing the opportunity. We're still vetting what we can do. I'll be honest with you, we're weighing the fact that we're always committed to Clayton County and Clayton County residents, but like you all, we also have a budget, and our budget has been exhausted, and so we're looking at how we might be able to assist Calvary and what makes the most sense. Calvary Refuge and what makes the most sense. I expect that the board will have a decision by the first part of next week.
Because I think we had a tight timeline, if I'm not mistaken. Is anybody here from Calvary? Okay.
The documentation, lastly, I'll say the documentation you requested, I have that here, and I'll have that for Mr. Reed.
Okay, can you give us
Give you what?
you say you all were, what was that term you used about the?
We're weighing the opportunity and what we can do.
Right,
then
and
we're
I was
also
asking,
looking
and
at
I
our
requested
own
the
budget and
financials, right. So you're going to give that to
Yes,
Mr. Reed?
I
Okay.
have that information.
Okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I'm good.
All right.
You ready?
I have one question that I did not hear about. How is the school system involved, not involved, or do they have their own program? Because a lot of these homeless are homeless families that have school-age children.
Yes, sir. So, Commissioner Davis, the school system, they have what they consider a homeless count in the school system specifically, and primarily to look at absenteeism, look at the amount of time that is, and they use that as a tracking mechanism to determine what impact the child's attendance in school may have on the parents' inability to be housed. So some of the numbers that are coming through the coordinated entry that we end up getting, bulk of that data is coming from the school system and what they're tracking to give us a sense of what impact it's having on the school system as a whole.
Okay. And as far as any type of funding source, are they involved with that in any capacity?
They receive
resources?
They receive some resources. I'm not sure what the funding level may be and who is providing that funding, but they do try to figure out those that might be displaced. How can they provide assistance to those individuals, whether it's looking at extended stays or some other means to try to address that, to try to provide some stability for the child.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. COO. And we're going to move right along to number 5, which is our 2025 legislative priorities. And Mr. Reed.
Well, good evening. I have no slide, but I do have, it shouldn't say legal priorities. It should be legislative. But anyway, the printout that I gave to you all this afternoon has 11 items as part of your priorities. And just really, we just want to hear from you as to what of those items that you want to include and I'll draft up the resolution for next Wednesday, or next Tuesday.
I can't see. But on that list, does it have, okay, does it have anything about the board requesting our delegation, our legislative delegation, to work on getting that bill rescinded where we cannot collect taxes from the airport as far as concessionaires are concerned? Is that on there?
That's number one.
Oh, great.
That's number one, yes.
Now, this is the same list that Commissioner Davis asked the board to, is this the same list?
Yes.
That in July, he asked us to send our priorities so he can send it to the delegation?
Equitable aviation revenue.
Because we don't have
This is
visuals
not
up,
the same. This number one is not the same, is what I was talking
it
about.
would be a subset of that, though.
Oh.
So what we can talk, so, Madam Commissioner, for the context of everybody, because we don't have it up, the board have in front of them, there are 11 points. Real quick, aviation revenue sharing and equity is 1, 2, flood mitigation and resilience funding, 3, expansion of workforce development and job training centers, 4, expansion of public health and safety non-net services and funding for SANE, 5, transportation and transit infrastructure improvement and expansion, 6, beautification funding, i.e. landscaping, cleanup, etc., 7, affordable and diverse housing, 8, elevation of Southern Regional to a level 1 trauma center, 9, funding for public safety and community resilience, 10, increase in detainee fees for airport arrest, and 11, small business and economic development incentives. Commissioner Hambrick just asked about how do we, from a delegation, talk
recoup or get that
recoup
started
money
again, right, with
from the
the
airport,
concessionaires.
and that will be a subset of aviation revenue sharing and equity. So there were some other
I don't see that.
bullet points under that
I
that
don't
would
see
be
that
part
the
of that.
same.
So can we list it separately? Would you
Yeah,
like it
because I don't
listed?
see that being the
Because that
same.
was one of the things, when I asked the board, as I was coming into office, I had asked the board about putting this list together for our legislative priorities so we would have some for 2025. And so that was one of the things that I think Commissioner Hambrick asked for as far as the getting the money back or the revenue back from our concessionaires as well, too.
So the details that's associated with that particular bullet point specifically, the priority definition says advocate for legislation or agreements to secure a fair share of tax revenue and fees collected at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, Atlanta International Airport, located within Clayton County boundaries.
And let me say this, because we got that started around 2011, 2010, 2011, and I think we have to be more specific and all. Commissioner Davis and I were discussing getting together with the delegation. We were talking, and I was telling him about years ago when I was more PTA that not only the delegation, but our commissioners, our mayors, the other municipalities, and definitely the school system all got together like around September, October of the year, and came out with a list similar to what we have here. And that's what our delegation worked on the coming year of the General Assembly. And it was very effective and all. And I think that's where he
Correct.
got that idea.
When we talked about it, with the concessions portion, when I stated and wrote in here about collection of fees, that is part of it. Now, we just did.
But see, that's not a fee.
A collection of all the items at the airport. When we begin to look at all the taxes and all the fees that are implemented, that we can begin to collect. So we've got to begin to look at and identify those in detail, though.
And since there was a specific bill some years ago taking that away from Clayton County, then I would like for us to have that as one specific individual thing that we work on very hard on, because we had started getting millions of dollars from the airport until we had a legislator out of Spalding County to present a bill that was passed, taking that ability away from us of collecting those fees.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
We're writing some more language in to ensure that it's incorporating your point about the impact of the concessionaire impact and the fees that were taken away, and we want to go back to have our delegation to look at that
Right, and
specifically.
you may want to mention too, and I don't know how many people know this, but the concessionaires were in agreement, and they didn't mind paying that because they were just passing it on to their customers or passengers or whatever going through the airport. So it was really a good deal for Clayton County. So if we would really push that one, so I mean, I love it for being number one.
So it seems like we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Yes.
It was one more thing too. We talked about looking at the land that we own by the airport and assessing what taxes we could get off that land, but I don't know if that would be included in that, or is that just something, how would we?
To me, that would be outside of a legislative priority and what we're trying to team with the delegation to obtain.
Let me see what Chuck says first, though. What do you think that would, where would that fall?
I'm not clear what you are.
Remember, we were talking about looking at our land by the airport and seeing what taxes that we could get based on the land that was actually in Clayton County, and going in and reassessing those taxes. So I'm just trying to see where that falls, or is that just something that we need to have
like creating some sort of like tax district or something like that?
Yeah, or either creating a tax district and also looking at that land. How would that fall? We can talk about it offline. Mm-hmm. That's fine.
Yeah, can we have too many things?
No.
I mean,
No.
I want to have some clear, specific things like
we got 11,
1, 2,
12.
3 kind of thing
Yeah.
for them to work on to get something passed. So I mean, are we going to go through this list? Is what I'm saying.
I think the spirit of the work session tonight was to ensure that the board was good with the items that had already been elevated by board members on getting consensus in that space, first and foremost. And then secondary, our question would be getting that a lot of this would either be pushed by a state delegation and or even talking to our federal delegation. The question is, what is the goal of the board as to how this should get executed? So we're providing them an opportunity to respond to this, but again, a lot of this is predicated upon who's out actually beating the bush and providing context to that. It's going to be important. So if the board was willing and wanted to talk about it, at least give us some direction as to how did you want to get this executed as part of our question.
I need to add one more thing, a
Yes,
12th
ma'am.
thing. So I've been working with beautification in the county, and one of the issues that I have ran into is some of the ordinances that needs to be changed to hold the plaza owners and the business owners accountable supersedes the county ordinance, Georgia's law. So I would like to, I got to get the correct wording, get back with Attorney Mitchell and go back over those ordinances in addition to Major McDonald, for instance. I'm gonna just, so y'all can write it, the signage. So if we have the old missing from Dollar Tree, there's nothing we can do to make them put the old back in the dollar, or the potholes, and that's because it's not written in Georgia law. So I would like us to propose to get some of those laws changed so we can hold those business owners accountable with the aesthetics of their business. So that's number 12.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, board members, are there any other suggestions or changes at this time?
The only question I would have, and it's more or less addressed to the board, is though these were written and just as a priority list, do we want to, as Commissioner Hambrick was alluding to with certain ones, to order them, wait them out in any sense? And that's kind of a question to the board. Or do we just want to take them as a general priority list and let the delegation begin to review them and come up with additional or more detailed steps in what they need to do, what they can and cannot do?
Let's just submit the whole list.
Yeah,
Right, and I think.
I'm sorry? Go ahead.
Commissioner Hambrick?
No. I was just going to say, I think that we could help them because we know more of what the needs are of the citizens, because we work with them day to day. And maybe give them this list and prioritize, like Commissioner Allen said, and go from there. And let them see, okay, we can handle 5 of these, or we work on 6 of these, that kind of thing. But I think they would appreciate us putting, 1, 2, 3 lists together.
And I think the other thing we have to understand is these priorities, many of them are not a one-session task. They could take multiple 5, 6, 7 years to begin to get done. But it's a matter of addressing what these needs are now and beginning to prepare for what's going up later.
Yeah, and what they can't do.
Correct.
Like
Just have the communication with them.
Yes.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the board did a good job in putting the ones that we definitely need, and just like I said, we just put it, like you said, in order, and then we'll see what our legislators or our state reps and our senators say as far as what would be priority and what they can move and what would take longer.
So where's your presentation, Chuck?
This is it.
This is not my presentation. This is your presentation.
Right.
All right. Any other questions at this time? All right. Are you all clear on where we're going and what we need to do? All right. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. Next, we'll move on to our magistrate court. I just want to, as Judge Wright Hill comes up, our magistrate court receives award for the Judicial Council of Georgia. And even before Judge Wright Hill comes up, let's just give them a round of applause because, again,
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and Board of Commissioners. As court administrator, the majority of the time I stand at this podium, I am making a request to the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Clayton County Magistrate Court. Today is a little different. As a leader, I found that complaints can spread like wildfires. Unfortunately, accomplishments and recognition don't always get the same energy. Today I come with exciting news. I'm here to make the Board of Commissioners and the entire Clayton County community aware that our Clayton County Magistrate Court has been recognized on a statewide level. While I am the face of Magistrate Court, this recognition goes to our entire Magistrate Court team. So as I read this letter, I would like the entire Clayton County Magistrate Court staff to stand and be recognized. This letter comes from the Judicial Council of Georgia's Administrative Office of the Courts, and it reads as follows. Dear judges of the Magistrate Court, on behalf of the Judicial Council's Standing Committee on Judicial Workload Assessment, the Office of Research and Data Analysis wishes to inform you that your court is recognized as a Clearance Rate Excellence Award recipient. Congratulations on this remarkable achievement. The committee recognizes courts in each class that demonstrate exceptional performance and maintaining clearance rates, a key indicator of a court's ability to effectively manage its caseload. Clearance rates are calculated by dividing the number of disposed cases by the number of filed cases for calendar years 2022 through 2024. And expressing the results as a percentage. Cases not disposed of in a timely manner contribute to a backlog of cases awaiting disposition. A clearance rate of 110% or higher demonstrates a court's ability to resolve as many cases as were filed each year. Your court's outstanding performance in meeting or exceeding 110% clearance rate has distinguished itself amongst its peer courts. This achievement reflects your court's commitment to ensuring the timely resolution of cases. Thank you for your participation in the annual caseload reporting project and your court's continued efforts to improve the administration of justice in all Georgia courts. Sincerely, the Judicial Council of Georgia's Administrative Office of the Courts, Office of Research and Data Analysis. I wanted to give you just a little background about this award. In order to receive a Clearance Rate Excellent Award, the court's clearance rate must meet or exceed 100% for 3 consecutive years. Our court's clearance rate exceeded 110%. Now you may ask yourself, how do you exceed 100%? Essentially, it means that in 2024, the number of cases that we closed out was more than the number of new cases that were filed in. In 2024, only 16 out of 159 magistrate courts received the Clearance Rate Excellence Award, and only 7 of those 16 courts achieved over 110%. We are one of the 7 courts because in 2024, the Magistrate Court of Clayton County had a clearance rate of 136.41%. And in the history of our magistrate court, this is the first time we have ever received this prestigious award. As I close, let me say this. Our court did not receive this award because of chance or happenstance or luck. We received this award because of our phenomenal full-time and part-time judges, our incredible office manager, our amazing judicial assistants, our awesome office assistants, our wonderful secretaries, and our fabulous interns. My staff are hardworking, efficient, fair, and compassionate. They work diligently 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, ensuring that our county is safe. Our work is not always pretty, but it is necessary. We issue warrants, we take people into custody, we set bonds, we issue orders, and we make tough decisions that affect people's lives every day, and we do it with a smile. This administration not only eliminated the COVID backlog, we eliminated a massive backlog that we inherited, which had open cases going back to 1999. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. Do we make mistakes? Of course we do. But one thing is certain, and that's that the individuals that just stood before you love their jobs in Clayton County. They take pride in performing their jobs well. They love to assist the citizens and visitors of Clayton County, and they love to ensure that our county looks good both in and out of court. While we are still in desperate need of another full-time judge, the Clayton County Magistrate Court will continue to be fair and efficient in hearing and disposing of cases. I just wanted to take a few minutes to recognize the court's amazing employees and let them know that all of their hard work is not only acknowledged, but is appreciated. Thank you.
All right, some of our board members have some questions. Commissioner Hambrick.
Well, it's not some question. I have a concern and congratulations to you all. Just want to know, and it may have passed magistrate court, but we have a community, and even my own community neighborhood, that is having problems with pad splits. And I don't know if everybody knows what pad splits are, where somebody purchases a home and cut it up into several rooms and rent those rooms out. That, I don't know, well, I'm sure it has gotten to you all because I think code enforcement has brought it to your attention. So if you all would, in your excellent work or whatever, continue to work on that, on those things or whatever, I would truly appreciate it. The citizens would, and I know my neighborhood would, and all, so.
We will continue to address the issues that are before the county.
Okay, can we do anything? I mean, is there some kind of solution to this problem? Because I think it's growing.
You can come on up and
I don't think that that is really a magistrate court function. And so if they are having these houses that are not licensed and zoned for that, then that's probably something that the zoning
Board
and the zoning and, what is that, the county ordinance would probably deal with. And we've seen it though, and they've been in our court, but there's nothing we can't lock them up for it.
Do you know who can, or can you refer us to somebody? We need help.
Yes, but again, that would be your county ordinance people, I believe. This is going to go in there and say you are
Correct.
operating. You don't have a license to operate.
Yes.
Mr. Reed, would you like to?
And also, too, Commissioner, I've actually reached out to a couple of other counties within ACCG to ask them for draft ordinances that some of them have implemented. So I've had that now for about a month or so on dealing with it. So hopefully I can look at it and present it to the board.
Well, please, because it's happening right now. I have some angry citizens, because they say we have something on the books, but yet
we don't.
It's not going anyplace. So.
And crimes are happening in these pad splits.
Yes.
So that's where we come in.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, again, congratulations. Thank you all. And thank you all for all you do. Thank you to the staff again for all that you do. I knew you were going to get that other judge in tonight. I see y'all back there smiling. So again,
I know we'll find a way to get our judge.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Chuck, your turn. You can present.
Chuck, what you going to do about the pass, please? Come to the podium, please.
No. Since it's not there, who is it? Just quickly, because we
Thank you all. Y'all have a good night.
Let me say this. The board has already adopted ordinances that deal with this issue. And they are just having to go through the process.
Okay. Well, and thank you.
Our county leads the state in handling this issue.
Okay. And
I'm not sure who was telling you something different.
Right.
But
well, no, it's my
I'm saying
citizens
I don't know
are
who's giving
asking
you
me.
ordinances because we are the ones that have given other counties information on how to handle it.
And I appreciate it because you did
ACCG.
something at my homeowners group that was very important and very good and good information and all that. But can we speed the process up some kind of way? Okay.
Yeah. All we can do is cite and let it go through the process, and it just takes a little bit of time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Next, we will move right on along to the impact fee ordinance. And again, we have our VCOO, Mr. Landry Murkison.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you again, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I bring before you tonight kind of the next phase in our process with the impact fee study and program that we've been developing over the last year and a half or so. And I do have our consultants are with us tonight too. Ms. Paige Hatley and Mr. Lee Walton are here for any questions that may come up. Earlier, I think toward the end of last week, I circulated 2 emails to the board. One was the draft ordinance that has been put together for your consideration that will be coming forth at the October 7th board meeting and the October 21st board meeting. And then also attached was a detailed fee schedule. Be that it's going to be extremely difficult to read on the screen here in a minute, I wanted to forward it to you in advance so you could see the entirety of the fee schedule and not just kind of some of the highlights that we'll be pointing out during this presentation. So our process to date, we've been before you several times with updates as required by the Developmental Impact Fee Ordinance and DCA. We have completed the capital improvements element, which was approved by this board to be transmitted to DCA. That document has been formally approved by DCA and sent back to us, and it really only had 2 very minor request, which was extremely rare. One was simply a scrivener's error, and one was clarifying a public meeting that we had. As required by the Act, we've had so far our mandatory 3 meetings with our Impact Fee Advisory Committee. As of our most recent meeting, which we're going to discuss as the basis of this presentation, their work has now concluded until such time as y'all need them, which the next time that would be if you do choose to impose impact fees, then when those fees are reviewed. If you choose to make any changes, then you have to reconstitute your impact fee committee. So where we are, as you know, the capital improvements element set forth the projects that were identified by each one of the stakeholders and the value and assessments that can be paid for by impact fees of each of those. That was all set forth in the capital improvements element, and then you could see kind of the categories that were identified for each one of those projects, and then what's get deemed as public safety. Where we sit now is we're at the point of the development impact fee ordinance. So as I said, I've circulated the draft ordinance for you all to look at and consider. So the development impact fee ordinance does several things. First thing it does is it provides guidance on the administration and maintenance of an impact fee program. There are certain things that's required by state law that we do. So that ordinance set forth those requirements. It provides the mechanisms to consider reductions of fees on a case-by-case basis. So as you get into impact fees and projects start coming forth, the board can make decisions based off how we structure the ordinance to make reductions or waiver of fees if the board so chooses. It does set forth a comprehensive fee schedule. It sets forth an effective date for fee collections, which is a decision of this here board, and then supports the Development Impact Fee Act requirements. So the recommended fee schedule, the BOC appointed advisory committee recommended adopting the maximum fee schedule that would apply to new development. This is the most that could be charged to help pay for parks and rec, libraries, and public safety facilities needed to serve growth over the next 25 years. And those fees are in line with the surrounding communities. So when our consultants met with the committee, as you know, 50% of our committee has to be made up of builders, real estate developers, and those that are kind of in the development industry. That makes sure that they are adequately represented and can opine on their views around impact fees. Based off of those committee members that were there and based off kind of where our surrounding municipalities are with fees, they did recommend to our consultants that the county and this board consider going ahead and using the max fee and implementing that fee at 100%. Just to give you an idea of comparative fees in the county, just to note the Clayton County proposed fee is the max fee, since that's what our committee recommended that we bring forth to this board. So you can kind of see where we would sit if these fees are in fact imposed. Look at the single family home comparisons. We put Atlanta in just because. Yes, sir.
You keep using the word max. Where's that max derived from?
So it's a formula that's calculated based off the dollar amount of the approvals that we came from, other funding sources. It determines, so there's a formula that gets used when you look at the percentage of a particular improvement that's impact fee eligible, and that's based off a number of calculations. It's based off who's using it. And if you looked at the master schedule that I sent you, you'll notice that there's several categories that don't use parks, they don't use libraries, and we don't charge for certain functions because a lot of your commercial businesses do not utilize those amenities. So when you look at the max fee, that's based off our consultant's calculation of the cost of the improvement, our population, what's the anticipated growth over the next 25 years, what's the dollar amount of that improvement, and then what's the percentage of fee that can be charged for that. And it varies. So if you said you needed 50 cars throughout impact fee, then a percentage of the first ones may be at a higher percent than the remaining ones. And some of this is offset by other programs like SPLOST. So you have to go in and take into account other funding sources. So if we didn't, like, all of our vertical got taken out of this SPLOST. All of our fleet got put back into the SPLOST. So what that meant is now that there's these other funding sources there, we have to go in and adjust what's impact fee eligible. If you look at on the list why Henry County is grayed out, Henry County is not currently charging impact fees because of a math error. So they overcalculated the cost of their improvements, which caused their fees to skyrocket. They were sued by the developer community, and they won. So now they're having to go back and readjust all of those facts and figures. So that's why they're grayed out. But you could kind of see the jump in just if you look at the single-family home prices. Atlanta's a little bit of an outlier, but they're one of our neighbors, so we included them. But if you look at kind of where everybody else is, as far as their fees and rates are concerned, Clayton County proposed coming in at a max fee of $2,388 is right in line with where everybody else. We're not the cheapest, but we're also not the most expensive. So we're coming in at the middle of the pack, and that's the max fee that we can charge.
Gotcha. All right.
So we can't go above that.
Thank you.
So was Henry charging what's gray?
Yes.
Oh my.
So their fees took a substantial turn north, and some of the things that we talked about with our consultants, and kudos to Paige and Lee, wave. They went back and quadruple checked our math several times to make sure that what we're putting out there is accurate. It's a complicated math problem to work, and it has a lot of factors, but essentially Henry raised their fees. They did so without reconstituting their impact fee committee, which was issue number one. But then their cost of improvements were overvalued substantially, which affected their dollar amount for their fee. So their fee for a single-family house went from, I believe it was in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. It jumped to over $7,000. So they had charged these fees for quite some time, and I think they're on the hook for somewhere around $14 million that has to come back. So that's why we grade them out, because they are not currently charging anything while they work through the rest of their court challenges.
All right.
But you can kind of see where the county shakes out. Apartment units, 2388 as well. Retail stores change a little bit. So when you get into retail and larger stuff, it goes to a per square foot charge as opposed to just a per unit like it does with single family dwellings and the like. So if you look, a retail store based off a 9,000 square foot, which would be similar to like a Dollar General or a small box retailers, around $3,700. Warehouses at 100,000 square feet is an impact fee of $21,138. And then of course, as you looked at the bigger fee schedule, and we'll show it here in a second, it kind of shows you how those fees break out. So the maximum fee schedule, so the following two-page table shows the maximum fees that could be charged for each land use. Fees are calculated on a per unit basis, typically per dwelling unit and square foot for non-residential uses. Fees are calculated when a building permit is issued. And then residential uses pay all fee categories, while non-residential uses pay public safety fees, but not parks, rec, libraries, and animal control. And that is basically derived straight from the Development Impact Fee Act, because commercial businesses, just by the nature of them and the transient population that utilizes them, typically do not utilize your rec centers, your libraries, and the such. So they are exempted from those. As I said, incredibly difficult to read. That's why I wanted to send you a copy. But you can kind of see for a single-family townhome, duplex, or multifamily what the total fee would be and how those fees are broken out and where those fees would be sent. So these fees are independent of permit fees. They're independent of any other fees that are currently being charged, because these fees go directly to increasing infrastructure within the county. So every time a 7,000 unit residential structure, townhome, live, work, eat, and play unit comes in, this goes to help pay for the infrastructure needed to protect it, to provide police, to provide fire, to provide parks, recs, libraries. So that's not solely borne by the taxpayer in Clayton County. So this runs you through what our max fees would be, and you can kind of see as you get down into some of your larger ones, it starts to go to per square foot fees. So that impact fee would be calculated based off the per square foot of each one of those developments, and then it's broken down, of course, by retail, other types of services, and you can kind of see what those fees are. Even down to gas stations, which are on a per pump, as opposed to a square footage type issue. So when we think about and look at the maximum fee schedule, so fees can be adopted at or below these maximum amounts. Lower fees can be adopted by reducing fees for all land uses in one or more public facility categories by the same percentages. Lower fees cannot be adopted for specific individual land uses, but the development impact fee ordinance includes mechanisms for the county to consider reductions on a case-by-case basis. So essentially what it's telling you is that if you're going to reduce fees based off land use and some other things, that needs to be consistent across the board. Now, based off of a project, so let's say that there was a specific project coming in that was going to benefit low-income parts of the county, whatever, and the county really wanted this project to come forward. You do have the option as a board, and it's in our ordinance, where you can either bring those fees down or you can choose to waive those fees altogether. The caveat to that is, because of how the development impact fee works, is fees have to be equal across the board. So if this board chose to waive a fee for a certain project, the county has to pay the fee to the impact fee group. So the fee doesn't go away. You're just shifting the cost from the development to the county because of the nature of the development, whatever it may be. But it's important to know when you waive it, it doesn't go away. That just means the county's paying it on behalf of the developer, is how that works. So what are our next steps? I do want to alter these dates in this presentation. This was done prior to not knowing if the advertising didn't happen. So we'll confirm the fee schedule for adoption. So if you're good with your impact fee committee's recommendation, then we don't have to make any changes. The fee structure that you see attached in the presentation and in your email will get attached to the ordinance, and it will come before you to be considered. We need to identify an effective date for collections to start, whether that's the start of a new calendar year or the start of a new fiscal year. There is within the ordinance some training that has to happen. There are some programmatic things that need to be cleared up, and then we need to get some work done with the county's permitting systems to get the fees set up. We have to work with finance to get the accounts set up so we know where these impact fees are going and then how they're being divvied up per the ordinance and then sent back out to those respective divisions. So there is some upstart work that has to happen after you hopefully pass this ordinance. So there will be 2 required public hearings. The Act requires those public hearings having a minimum of 2 weeks apart, which works since our board meetings are 2 weeks apart. So our first public hearing on this matter will not be the 9/16 meeting. It will be the October 7th meeting. So there will be a public hearing and a first read of the ordinance. The second public hearing and second read of the ordinance will be at the 10/21 board meeting. And then at that October 21st board meeting, there will be a process by which we need to move in the adoption of this. The first thing that has to happen is the community improvements element needs to be adopted. And then if the community improvements element is adopted, then the impact fee ordinance needs to be adopted after that. With that, here's the important thing to keep in mind. We do not need to adopt one of those documents without the other. So the community improvements element is the one that sets the project list, sets the goals, the objectives, what we're going to do for fire, what we're going to do for PD, what we're going to do for sheriff, what we're going to do for all of these other things. That's what sets that up. If you adopt the community improvements element, but you do not adopt the impact fee ordinance, then you're still on the hook to do everything you said you was going to do in the community improvements element. We just don't have a funding source now. So the two documents are linked, but they have to be adopted separately in accordance with the Developmental Impact Fee Act, and the CIE has to come first, if that makes sense. But just wanted to throw that out there as you're considering this.
So would that be different dates?
No, ma'am. So all that will be done at the October 21st board meeting. There's just a sequence to how it happens. I just wanted you to understand that they're really connected. So if you don't want to do the impact fees, then don't adopt the community improvements element.
All right. Board members, are there any other questions at this time? Commissioner Allen, you got a question?
No questions.
All right. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
No questions.
You good, Commissioner? I'm good. Right. All right. Well, thank you so much. And again, it's time for us to, if people want to build in our county, we're going to do the impact fees the right way. So thank you for showing us, and thank you for all of your information.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next is FY26 local assistance grants from our CFO, Angela Jackson.
Good evening, Board. Okay, the Clayton Collaborative opens the application process for the local assistance grants in January. They close that process in March each year. In February, they host a mandatory workshop for all interested applicants. This year, the county budgeted $780,000 for local assistance grants, which is down from $900,000 the year before due to the board desiring a decrease in taxes for this year. So this year, the Clayton Collaborative also assigns a score to each application. This year, the first applicant, Alpha Phi Alpha Mentoring Academy, requested $5,000. The proposed award is $5,000. The Clayton Collaborative score was 95. Alpha Phi Alpha Mentoring Academy mentors the high school boys in 9th through 12th grade that live in or attend Clayton County schools. The Alzheimer's Support Center requested $150,000. The proposed award is $45,000. Their application received a score of 100. They provide adult daycare and weekend respite care for citizens with Alzheimer's. Amazing Grace Evangelical Community Empowerment Program requested $35,000. The proposed award is $16,000. They received a score of 100. Amazing Grace feeds the homeless, distressed families, the elderly, veterans, and school kids. They also provide rental and utility expenses. Encore Resource Center, U.S. Civics, requested $15,000. The proposed award is $3,000. Their application received a score of 95. Encore teaches English and civics classes to aid immigrants in passing the U.S. naturalization and civics exam. Encore had a new application this year for Encore Resource Center Healthy Seniors Program. They requested $20,000, and the proposed award is $0 only because we didn't do any proposed awards for new applicants this year. It's up to the board to move the funds around within that $780,000 should they desire to award any new applicants. That particular program, however, is a free and low-cost immigration services to Clayton County residents. They aid in obtaining Medicare, Medicaid, etc. Their staff also function as interpreters to ensure they complete the applications accurately and that they don't miss deadlines. Arts Clayton requested $120,000. The proposed award is $85,000. Their application received a score of 100. Arts Clayton provides art education, venues, and opportunities for artists and promoting the arts. Calvary Refuge requested $80,000. The proposed award is $45,000. Their application received a score of 100. And of course, we know Calvary Refuge provides emergency shelter and short-term housing. The Clayton County Community Services Authority requested $264,000. The proposed award is $264,000. Their application received a score of 100. They provide community support, legal aid, and weatherization. Also, eligible participants may receive utility assistance, mortgage assistance, emergency food, and pro bono legal services. Clayton County DFACS requested $150,000. The proposed award is $93,000. Their application received a score of 100. Clayton County Soil and Water. It shows that they requested 0. However, the executive director was sick at that time, so we did provide a proposed award of $2,000, which of course can be adjusted by the board. The Clayton County Soil and Water Conservation District provides technical support for erosion and sediment control. Community Outreach in Action requested $35,000. The proposed award is $31,000. Their application score was 100. They provide food to the at-risk population. Georgia Showcase Baseball requested $25,000. The proposed award is $10,000. They received a score of 90 on their application. They target the youth and foster character development throughout the sport of baseball, The Good Shepherd Clinic, the specialty side of it, requested $50,000. The proposed award is for $30,000. They received a score of 100 on their application. They provide primary medical care and mental health for the citizens of the county who don't currently have health care. The Haley Bankhead Foundation requested $100,000. The proposed award is $10,000. They received a score of 95 on their application. They serve and support and encourage those affected by childhood cancer. Hearts to Nourish Hope requested $60,000. The proposed award is $45,000. They received a score of 100 on their application. And they developed the development of responsible men ages 18 through 24 through alternative education. They also provide food pantry, workforce development, emergency shelter, and independent living. The Hope Shelter requested $10,000. The proposed award is $10,000. They received a score of 95 on their application. The Hope Shelter provides emergency shelter for homeless mothers and their children. The House of Dawn requested $50,000. The proposed award is $25,000. They received a score of 100 on their application. The House of Dawn provides housing and supportive services for young mothers and their children. I Am King Mentoring requested $20,000. The proposed award was $5,000. I Am King is a mentoring program for boys aged 5 to 19. They teach self-awareness through literature, motivational speaking, life skills, public speaking, teamwork, time management. The program launched in 2008 with 8 boys, now currently has 150 boys. Melanated Pearl requested $100,000. The proposed award is $3,000. They received a 95 on their application. The National Association of Black Military Women requested $25,000. The proposed award is $3,000. They received a 95 on their application. NVS Building Communities Program requested $100,000. The proposed award is $5,000. They received a 95 on their application. They provide the youth and their families tutoring, social services, arts and science programs, nutrition, and physical creation. Prevention Plus, doing business as The Bridge, requested $50,000. The proposed award is $25,000 with a score of 95 on their application. Prevention Plus provides academic development to marginalized youth, post-secondary pathways, college and career readiness, workforce development opportunities, job training, career coaching, life skills, financial education, and financial and food assistance. Ujima Way, the Peach Program, they requested $20,000. They received, the proposed award is $10,000 with an application score of 95. Ujima Way improves the lives of high-risk and less fortunate individuals, prevention and intervention for high-risk court-involved youth and young adults, life skills, and career readiness. They have a new program this year called ERAPS. They requested $10,000. The proposed award currently is $0. They received a 96 on that application. That application is for eviction prevention and rental assistance support for homeless adults. Walking in Authority requested $73,500. The proposed award is $5,000 with an application score of 95. They are committed to raising awareness and providing peer-driven responses to critical issues such as anxiety, depression, bullying, and youth suicide. You have several new requests this year. The Christian Life Center requested $75,000. They received a score of 85. Typically, we only provide awards for applicants that score 90 and above. The Clayton Center Children, Young Adults, and Families requested $100,000. They received a score of 100. Clayton Center Community Support Services requested $150,000 and had an application score of 100. Clayton Center Residential Services Program requested $200,000 with an application score of 100. Clayton Center Substance Abuse Use Disorders requested $100,000 with an application score of 100. Those four are combined and is a part of the Clayton Community Services Board. We did provide them a total of $369,000 in the budget, which you will see shortly. The Clayton County Chamber Foundation FIT program requested $50,000 with a score of 95. Enrich Kids Now Incorporated Youth Enrichment Services requested $10,000 with a score of 85. Grandma Betty's Back to School Give Back requested $10,000. Grandma Betty Costumes, Coats, and Candy requested $3,125. Grandma Betty's Holiday Give Back requested $10,000. All of the Grandma Betty's provide service to youth with incarcerated parents or guardians. New Vision Christian Church requested $15,000 with a score of 85. Sisters Empowerment Network requested $5,500 with an application score of 95. And the Online Food Pantry requested $235,390 with a score of 90. The Online Food Pantry is an online service that allows various food outlets to donate their surplus and leftover food online, and then they redistribute that food. The applicants on this page are currently in the budget, and they're funded differently from the general fund. So you have Securus House and the Southern Crescent Sexual Assault Center. Securus House requested $85,000. The proposed award is $65,000 with an application score of 100. Currently, it's budgeted through the drug funds. The Southern Crescent Sexual Assault Center requested $75,000. The proposed award is $35,000 with an application score of 100. Currently in the adopted budget, once again, this is Clayton Center Mental Health, it's the CSB. They requested $500,000. The proposed award is $369,000 with an application score of 100. You also have the Department of Human Resources Health Department. They requested $698,000 with a proposed award of $698,000 and an application score of 100. Currently, this is budgeted at $780,000, excluding the ones listed on this page. Should the board decide to move any around, we need to decrease another award to accommodate that move. We can do that tonight, or you can email me throughout the week and talk about which ones you would like to change, if any. Or if you would like to bring it back at another work session, it's completely up to the board. The way the process works is once this board adopts whatever local assistance grants, then the legal department provides an MOU to that provider. Once they sign the MOU and send it back, finance issues the check at that point.
All right, board members, are there any questions at this time?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Did we find out why, did you find out why we were giving defects I think it was $93,000?
Right. They put in an application for it each year, and each year it's granted based on their application score.
And I guess Mr. Brinson can ask her, why aren't we accepting new applications?
Excuse
Mr.
me?
Brinson, can you
Maybe
come to the
Mr.
podium,
Brinson can
please?
answer why.
Your question again,
Commissioner Allen.
Commissioner.
Whose decision was it not to accept new applications?
When you say new application?
Yes, so the new request, everyone received $0. Ms. Jackson just stated that.
It's based on their score.
Okay.
90 is the threshold, and they scored below that in their application submittal now.
Okay, because there is one organization on here I would like to see funded. Well, I mean, if their request, Sisters Empowerment Network, they work with a lot of our law enforcement entities to help domestic women and children that suffers from domestic violence. She's also, you know, I would like to see that. I mean, her request funded the $5,500.
$5,500. Where would you like to remove that from? Because the applications were accepted. They're a part of the process. The applications were scored, all of them, even the new request.
Yes, ma'am.
So where,
We can use from the defects.
okay.
And then I'll look at the rest throughout the week and email you before the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, board members, are there any other questions at this time? All right, thank you. All right. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Next, we, and Mr. Collins, no. All right, next we will have the 2026 Medicare renewals for retirees. And that will be Ms. Pam Adams.
Last but certainly not least, good evening, Clayton County Board of Commissioners, and good evening to our Clayton County citizens. This evening, we are going to present the recommendation for the renewal of the medical insurance for our retirees. We plan to place the item on the next agenda for the board to vote on, and this evening, Mr. Jack Thompson from MMA will actually give the presentation to the board.
And Ms. Ambles, before you get started, I just want to recognize Mr. Frank Cobb from the city of Riverdale. I thought you had left us, Mr. Cobb. Thank you for coming out, as you always do. Thank you.
Chairwoman Anderson Henry and Commissioners, thank you. We're 2 hours and 30 minutes into this meeting, and so I'm very conscious that I'm between you and going home, and so I'm very, we'll go quickly. To use a baseball euphemism, we are rounding third on our way home to finish the renewal cycle for the benefits that will start January 1st, 2026. I did want to recognize my team members, Maureen Rosen, Tanisha Gamblin, who is logged in online, and of course Roy Callahan with Brown Financial Group. Thank you, Director Ambles, for your introduction. So I thought it would be important to have a historical view, briefly, of what Kaiser Permanente did a year ago, and then relate that to what they're requesting this year. And the same thing would be true for Aetna, and you'll recall that they had a rather significant rate adjustment. You moved to Anthem for Medicare Advantage, and so we'll talk about Anthem's renewal as well. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with Retiree First, which is an enhanced concierge service for your retirees. So last year, there were 338 members that were insured by the Kaiser Senior Advantage Plan. They processed the 4% rate adjustment, and I would say of all of the carriers, Kaiser Medicare Advantage is a very stable product, meaning not significant rate increases. There were no changes to benefits except what was required by CMS, and so the renewal last year was about $33,000, and the county's portion of that was $24,000. This year, again, they've requested a very modest adjustment. It's because they do community rating for their Medicare Advantage program, and they also receive a star rating of 4.5, which in the Medicare Advantage world is very respectable for sure. And so this year they have requested an increase of 6.1%. The total increase for 2026 is $53,000, and so the increase for the county would be $38,851. Our recommendation is that you renew with Kaiser. That also kind of pairs nicely with the commercial renewal with Kaiser as well. The cost increase at the retiree level is a minimal $3.49 a month. So we feel like this is in line with what's going on in inflation, not only in the healthcare business, but also generally as well. Last year, you'll recall that Aetna requested a rather significant adjustment, 32%. It was an increase to the county of $426,000. We were asked to market this and to give credit where credit's due. Maureen Rosen did a very nice job in that regard. And the summary of activity is, in addition to Aetna's 32% increase, they offered a renewal option that would be 22%. Cigna was divesting, in the process of divesting their Medicare business, Humana plus 21, United Healthcare plus 24. So Anthem was the logical choice at plus 2.28%. And you'll see here, and I'm not sure if I can do a light on there or not, but in red, you avoided a $394,000 increase in premium. So the increase last year was $31,000. And so you move to Anthem for your Medicare Advantage plan in that regard. So this year, they have come back and they are requesting a portion of that renewal savings back. 465 members were covered in July. They've asked for a 15.2% increase. In dollar terms, that's $37.32 per retiree per month. However, we negotiated a rate cap last year of $50, so they could not increase the rate for 1/1/2026 by more than 50. They got $37 of that. That is in line with what we're seeing in the state of Georgia and below the average for other carriers. There's no change for benefits except what's required by CMS. And this does include a communication technology fund of $15,000. We did ask for a rate cap, but that was not approved. And Anthem, their star rating with Medicare is about 4.0 out of 5. So our recommendation, well, the overall increase is $208,000. The increase for the county is $163,000. But in light of what Anthem did a year ago, we feel like that's competitive, especially in light of what's going on in the market. So the recommendation is to renew with Anthem. This will be your first renewal cycle with them. The retiree cost will increase just under $8 per retiree per month. And we feel like it's a quality program at a reasonable adjustment. And then lastly, we are recommending that you implement Retiree First. You'll recall a couple of weeks ago we talked about Quantum and being one of the premier employee advocacy services in the business. This Retiree First is a retiree advocacy service. It delivers best-in-class benefits management. It helps your employees understand their programs and their benefits better. They work closely with county governments and other public sector clients as well as brokers. They serve 450 plan sponsors with over 375 members nationwide. And we feel like that this will enhance the value proposition for your retirees. Your booklet will provide a little additional information, but there's retirees with personalized support. All of the questions that your HR department is getting now, they will be able to redirect those to the Retiree First pods, and they will answer questions. They'll help retirees resolve billing problems, obtain ID cards, and help file applications for various programs. So we feel like this will be a nice enhancement. Their services are baked into the renewal that we've already discussed. There are no additional costs there. And so we feel like this will be an enhancement for your retirees. They do help have bridge gaps in care, so if somebody's not taking their medication, then they help them understand why that's important, as well as take advantage of wellness programs. So in summary, Retiree First, we feel like will be a great advocacy program for your retirees. So I'll pause there and see what comments or questions you may have.
All right, board members, are there any questions at this time in regards to Retirees First?
Yes. You say we do or do not pay for the Retiree First?
It was negotiated as part of the renewal, and Retiree First takes a lot of service off of Anthem. And so Anthem lowers their renewal to reflect the amount of service that Retiree First will be providing. And so there is no additional cost. The renewals that we discussed are inclusive of this service.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Davis? All right, well, thank you
Very
for
good.
your
And
presentation.
I think Director Ambles, we're looking for a vote on this next
It
week
will be next board meeting, correct?
for approval. Is that the game plan?
Yes, esteemed board, we're going to put it on the agenda for next week for your consideration. I will be working at a training, but Ms. Angela Woods and my HR team who are here tonight, they will be here on my behalf.
All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. All right, well, again, thank you all for coming out tonight. Tomorrow we have Groove on the Green, so please don't forget to come out. We will be in Jonesboro, well, not tomorrow, Thursday. Y'all know I'm tired now. But Thursday we will have Groove on the Green. It will be Divine Nine Night, as well as I think we're going to do colleges and universities. So you all, it's a free concert. You're welcome to come out. And again, thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. I put my glasses on. That's when I could see you back there, but it was a lot of people in front of you. But again, thank you for always coming out from the city of Riverdale and just I know you're out getting this knowledge and what's going on and taking it back to the city of Riverdale. So thank you again. All right, this meeting is adjourned as of 8:11 p.m. Thank you all and have an awesome, awesome night.